My wife and I are going to go on this vacation. We're going to be very intentional, keeping God at the forefront. We're going to be very intentional, thanking God for every little thing that happens every day with our kids so they can start seeing how God worked in the day-to-day. And that's going to be part of the memory of this amazing trip, that God was also there. God was helping shape this amazing trip for us. And if you think about it, that's the type of father you should want to be. One that plants and seeds positive memories that they're going to look back on and smile. And they're going to look back on, they're going to want to replicate in their family.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the New Path New You podcast. My name is Ron Cool. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And today's podcast is about making memories. This is more geared as a father and creating memories that you would want your kids to remember forever. Forever. And as I'm recording this, we're planning on taking a vacation. God has blessed us in amazing ways. We're just so grateful. We will be going to Disney World for 4 days and then a beach house to hang out on the ocean for 4 days just to recharge. It was either that or stay in Colorado and go to a cabin. And I remember having the conversation with my wife around which one we should do. And she goes, what if we just save a little bit more so we could have an amazing vacation out in Florida next year and just go, to a cabin this year? And my comment was, we don't know if we have next year, but we do have right now. And if we do this right now, and create the memories right now, that will be a vacation our kids will remember forever. So we decided we will be going to Florida, so we're excited. And I'm sure I'll talk about that when I get back, and it will be a podcast episode. So we will be taking a break for next week, but the week after, I'm sure I will be talking about the time we had in Florida. But the making the memories piece, it's important. Now let me share the first vacation I took my kids on. This was a bad choice. Bad choice. Fathers don't do this. Took them to Vegas. And I was like, hey, it's cheap. We can go. They can walk around the hotels. We can do, they can just see all the amazing buildings and the sights. Yeah, not the place to take your kids at all. However, my kids remember it. My kids remember that vacation and talk about it a lot. So my goal is that this new vacation will trump the talks and memories of that other vacation. So stay tuned. But men, we also can give them memories in a negative way that they're going to remember forever that we don't even know we did. We could say something, if you have a daughter, that we don't think is that big of a deal or an issue, that sticks with her forever. And you might not even know it's a problem, but it might cause a seed of doubt to be planted, or a seed of not good enough to be planted, or a seed of I'm ugly to be planted, or a seed of I need to lose weight to be planted. So you have to be careful of your words. Your words are important, and you want to speak life into your children. Now, I struggle with this, especially if I'm trying to just, my thing I said literally last Sunday was, what is wrong with you? Now, there's nothing wrong with her, but I could see how she took it immediately, and I had to pause and apologize and explain I didn't mean anything personal to her. And that's another thing, man. We have to be okay with apologizing to our children. And I shared this with a gentleman about just setting the parameters, especially if you're new at doing this. If you're new at praying, new at trying to be more of a gentle father, I'm going to just share what I did. And if it helps you, phenomenal. We were sitting around the dinner table one night, and I apologized for not being a good father. And I told him I would try to do better. And here's the ways I'm going to try to do better. And I explained, I'm not going to yell. We're going to talk through things. I'm going to try to listen better. And I'm going to try to work on being a good dad. I'm going to put down the phone. I'm going to be present. Okay. And then I also shared that I would be starting to pray every dinner, that was my time to pray for the family. And we're going to start doing devotionals. We're going to start talking about speaking life over each other. And we kind of set some family rules around that. And that way it kind of lets them know that A, you're working on something, and B, you're going to start responding differently. And it's harder if you just start changing and they don't realize it and they don't understand it or they don't trust it. Or your wife might think you want something. So be open that you're working on something. Be open that you want to change something. And you'll be surprised the memories you will start to make, or the seeds you will start to plant. The seeds you'll start to plant. For me, I'm looking at Jesus. I'm looking at Joseph. I mean, Joseph, look at that story. I mean, could you imagine? Um, you're about to get married to your wife. She's pregnant by not you. And you're like, gosh, what should I do? I love her. And then you have an angel appear to you and say, this is going to be the Son of God. And you're like, whoa, that's heavy. that is going to be heavy. So Joseph was very obedient. He was a very obedient man. In every instance, Joseph discerned the will of God and he responded positively. Now, if your kids are doing something, it's hard to sometimes respond positively. But during my journey and my path, what I found is if there was an escalation going on and I jumped in and matched the escalation level and I didn't bring it down, the escalation, did it go up or down? And if you've been in that situation, you know where it went. It went up. It did not go down. So you want to make sure you're setting the thermostat in your family where you want it to be. And if you want it to be positive, you have to be that a positive example. You have to be that positive example. Now, obedience is an amazing memory to give your children of their father. So if you're being obedient to God's direction as a way of life, and you're talking about it. So my wife and I are going to go on this vacation. We're going to be very intentional, keeping God at the forefront. We're going to be very intentional, thanking God for every little thing that happens every day with our kids so they can start seeing how God worked in the day-to-day. And that's going to be part of the memory of this amazing trip, that God was also there. God was helping shape this amazing trip for us. And if you think about it, that's the type of father you should want to be. One that plants and seeds positive memories that they're going to look back on and smile. And they're going to look back on, they're going to want to replicate in their family. So if you think of it that way, wouldn't you want them to replicate with their kids time spent individually with their kid, not being distracted by a cell phone, not being distracted by a computer, not being distracted by anything, and spending undivided attention with their kid and trying to make a positive impact and speaking life over their child? Don't you want to give that memory to them for when they become parents? I think you do. And I think that's the path you want to step on. And I think that's the path you want to put your kids on. So, men, I encourage you, take some inventory on some of the behaviors you're doing and what memories you're putting in their heads to remember. I hope this episode helps you look at how you're behaving and how you're planting good or bad seeds. We all do it. I literally just told you how I did one on Sunday. It happens. But I took a moment to apologize. And if you do something in public, and what I mean by public, if you yell at one of your children in front of the whole family, don't apologize in private to that one person. Apologize to that one person in front of everybody. Because then that's the memory they're going to remember. The dad that was vulnerable enough to apologize to their kid. That's the parent that they will become, because they're going to model their parenting after you, good or bad. So I'm just asking to be that positive role model that maybe you didn't have growing up. But you can follow Joseph's example. You can follow Jesus' example. And we can begin by asking ourselves a couple questions. Am I caring and sensitive? Do I only look out for myself, or am I concerned about others? And men, working to provide is not caring for them. It's something they need. But if you're not showing them love, they need that more. Am I responsible? And then this one, there's a couple other ones. Bear with me. Stay with me here. Do I take care of my obligations as a husband and a father? And am I obedient to God? Men, if you're obedient to God, you're going to be a good husband and a good father. So take a moment, see what path you're on, see what path you're putting your family on. And I hope you've decided to put them on a new path, which will create a new year. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I would love to hear about your journey. Message me on Instagram, or if we're not connected on Instagram, head over to newpathnewyou.com. And there's a bunch of different ways we can connect. I look forward to talking to you next week. See you then.